Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor Scholars. We are here with the episode Heresy Weapon Review. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check out all the weapons and give them the up, the down, what's good, what's not. I'm going to tell you if it's meta or not meta. We're going to get right in and review each weapon and whether it's worth your time or not. Some of them are. Now, I do want to emphasize before we start with this review, yes, we're going to talk about the meta. We're going to talk about what's good and actually worth the slot in your vault. Surprise, surprise. Most people who are watching this are going to be new, returning, or you're just wanting to know the value proposition of the weapons from someone who has at least 10 years of experience and over 10K hours in Destiny 2 alone. You want to know what I think about the weapons. Now, if you're a veteran, you probably already came to the conclusion. And yes, there's going to be some weapons that you might like. But let's be honest, just because you like it doesn't mean it's good. Can you have fun with it? Sure. But most people don't want to waste their time filling the vault with just fun weapons when you can have meta weapons that are good and fun. I know I'm speaking to the wind because there's going to be that one guy talking about, you don't like this specific weapon. I don't like you. Listen, let's get real. Not every weapon that Bungie comes out with is a banger. It's okay. We have 1,000 other guns that could be better than the one you like. Just get over it. Now, episode Heresy brings us the heretical arsenal. And it comes with two different origin traits. Now, one of them you have to get lucky and get the shiny variant of the heretical weapons, and you get the runneth over perk, which is the King's Fall specific origin trait for those weapons. What it does is very simple. Reloading near other teammates in a group will overflow your mag. Now, it scales from one person up to five being the maximum. If you're playing anything with anyone, this origin trait will always find value. Now, the Heresy weapons have a brand new origin trait called the Willing Vessel origin trait, which is actually pretty good because it gives you stacks based on kills or damage done over time that gradually increases your stability, your handling, your reload, and the charge rate if we're talking about swords or fusion rifles. And it's just free. Doing damage, doing anything will increase the stacks, which will gradually decay over time, but it's gained more quickly around other teammates. So just like Runneth Over, the more people you have around, the quicker these effects stack. Overall, these are very solid origin traits to have on these weapons, and no matter what you choose, they're actually both worth using. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump into each individual weapon and let's check out both the perks and what I think is actually worth your time. Now, I'm going to say right now, I'm not going to name every last perk in a weapon. I'm going to put it on the screen for you to see, but I'm going to talk about some of the noteworthy perks that you might consider or what other people in the community have considered. And I'll tell you what is the best possible option and whether even the gun itself is worth it. But before we talk about heretical weapons, I do want to insert just for a moment because someone's going to mention it. What about the remake of the Season of Arrival weapons? None of them are worth it. Not a single one of them are worth your time. They are easily replaceable, except maybe Temptation's Hook, because we don't really have very many arc caster frame weapons. But outside of Temptation's Hook, every other weapon is replaceable.
Brother,
So the first weapon on the list I want to talk about is the new Strand Abyssal's Edge. Probably my favorite sword in the game right now. Has a lot of great options, but let's check it out. Why is it so good? Well, again, it's Strand, and it is another wave frame sword. If you're not familiar what wave frames do, essentially when you do a heavy strike, it causes a wave of damage similar to that as grenade wave frames do, but better. Not only that, but wave frames have some of the highest DPS potential in the game. So it has ad clear potential. And normally I make fun of people using swords or like rockets for ad clear. Wave frames are literally great for using for dealing with champions and trash ads at the same time. Usually you can hit multiple targets with one swing. I'm gonna be very honest. The two perks that I would recommend is Relentless Strikes, which is the go-to sword, DPS specific perk. The other one is Flash Counter. If you've not seen any of my Flash Counter builds, absolutely check it out. It is probably one of the best combos in the game, especially specifically for Titan. And Abyssal's Edge takes advantage of that and the ability to do ad clear since it is a wave frame. In column number 2, we have Redirection, Surrounded, Sword Logic, Elemental Honing. These are the ones that I would look at personally. The best ones for the bang of the buck, if you're doing Flash Counter, you absolutely want to use Surrounded or Redirection. If you're trying to build in for DPS, Sword Logic really doesn't make sense overall, simply by the fact that you have to get different tiered kills in order to stack the damage. Being a boss would give you 4 stacks, whereas just killing regular yellow bars would give you up to 2. Honestly, for the work, if you're going for straight DPS, Relentless Strike Surrounded is the play. Now, if you're wanting to use this for its capabilities with Strongholds, I would absolutely recommend using Flash Counter and Redirection. It does get Elemental Honing, but I think the work that you have to put into Elemental Honing, unless you're running Prismatic specifically, I personally don't feel like it's worth it, especially if you're already surrounded by enemies. Surrounded at a 41% when enhanced is premium. The next weapon to check out is our second support frame. That is right, we've got a strand version now. Instead of just the solar no hesitation version, we now have Adamanite. It's a 600 RPM, and honestly, it's the best version of the 6 RPM because healing your teammates with a support frame boosts the damage of yourself by healing people. So it's pretty good on its own. But not only that, but it also can unravel targets. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Rapidly healing your teammates will spawn unraveling projectiles. I didn't realize this until I really looked at the weapon in detail and played with it. But yeah, it actually has the cool unraveling effect, which a lot of the strand weapons neglect, but this one specifically provides a lot of utility outside of just healing your teammates. Which, I will say this right now, do I think it's better than No Hesitation? No, I think No Hesitation is the superior support frame, but 1, this is in your kinetic slot, and 2, this is also a strand weapon that you can use for your strand kit or prismatic or whatever reason, and the fact that it's also in your kinetic slot. Adamanite has a lot of options, many of which are kind of pointless. Like, here's the thing. Yes, you can go into Frenzy. Yes, you can get Elemental Honing. You can get Kill Clip. But what you really need to do with these specific weapons is where do they fit? And as a support weapon, you really want to build into the support options. And if we're looking at the first column, we see moves like we see perks like Reciprocity. You do have Slice that you can build in completely into support. You have things like Demolitionist, Pugilist. I found even running in in-game content that auto rifles and SMGs just feel way too nerfy. And when I say nerfy, I mean it feels like you're shooting Nerf darts. Overall, I would use this for where it shines, and that is completely healing. Reciprocity, one of the best perks to run. And in this one specific regard, Attrition Orbs. Attrition Orbs, not only doing damage, but also healing your allies, will produce orbs. So you're healing, supporting your team, you're producing orbs both for yourself and the team, which lets you build into surges and other mods that benefit from orbs, and you're just producing more super generation. Overall, the whole point of this auto rifle is to build into the support dream. Do I think it's better than No Hesitation? No, again, I don't think it is. I think No Hesitation has a lot better ad clear potential, especially if incandescent. Whereas Adamanite does go into the kinetic slot, allows a lot more flexibility if you don't want to use a solar weapon, And you can technically use elemental honing to build into prismatic, which if you're wanting to use this, you can't go wrong. But I'm not looking at this for like as a true ad clear weapon. I'm looking at it as more of a support. How can I use this to, keep my team alive in contest mode and produce orbs during damage fights quickly if we don't have any other way to get surges active. Next, we have our fusion rifle, Afterlight. That's right. Afterlight is kind of an afterthought. We have so many amazing fusion rifles in the game that Afterlight just pales in comparison. If I'm going to be bluntly honest, it's a 660 charge rate adaptive frame fusion rifle that is also void. And I'm just going to say it now. The only thing that really makes this weapon interesting is its void kit, which again, we have other fusion rifles that can do the job better. Afterlights. Let me tell you, we do have a lot of better options. This is one of the first special weapons we're going to talk about where Bungie tried to do something different in the first column. We have Discord. Now, I want to make a mention that Discord is really good with Reservoir Burst because Reservoir Burst alone kind of sucks. It kind of sucks because it's only good for the first shot, whereas Discord allows you to kind of chain shots. But the problem that you will find in the end game and even most just general game modes, even expert, that if you don't kill a target, not only are you wasting Discord, but you're also you have to stop and reload Reservoir Burst, which completely defeats the whole point of having these perks. It's great for ad clear, but why? Why are we using a fusion rifle to do ad clear? And if I'm going to use ad clear, the only one thing I'm going to look at in the second column for Afterlight is destabilizing rounds. But here's the thing. You don't need destabilizing rounds on a fusion rifle. You could use any other gun, and a hand cannon will do just as well. It's cool. It sounds cool. It looks cool. Everything about this fusion rifle is cool. But what it provides as both a multi-tool of being able to use for DPS and ad clear, it's just not really there. We already have better options in the void category and even an arc. This really should have been maybe a solar weapon, but it is what it is. In this first column, we have Pugilist, Ambitious Assassin, Discord, Left from Gold. Put a gun to my head, if I had to use this, I'm probably going to use either Ambitious Assassin with stabilizing rounds, or I'm going to use Lead for Gold to try to keep up as much ammo to keep activating destabilizing rounds, right? The whole point, if you want to try to attempt to use this for ad clear, then Lead for Gold is going to try to give you more bang for your buck. Destabilizing rounds is going to be great for hitting multiple targets and causing multiple explosions. That's my go-to. Again, I'm not going to use this in in-game. I might pop this on my Hunter or Gerfalcons and just kind of have some meme fun. Maybe some dungeon encounter where there's just nothing but trash ads. This could shine. I'm just going to use Zealot's Reward. And if I can't even really, I know people may not do raids out there and they're like, what for the bang of my buck? I can't do raids. What should I go after this? And I would say Glacioclasm, which is a aggressive frame. It is not an adaptive, but it's also easy to really focus farm during the dawning, even though it's not a fun activity. It's pick your poison. I still think we overall have better fusion rifles to farm, but if you really, really want a void, you can't beat destabilizing rounds. I cannot believe I'm going to talk about and glaze this, but our next weapon is Anemensia. I'm going to get amnesia trying to say this name. Anemensia. It's a lightweight void bow, and usually lightweight bows suck donkey doo-doo. But this one specifically is probably one of my favorite bows that I have used, legendary bows that I've used, because it has such an amazing kit, and also it looks really cool. Anemensia. I swear I'll never get this bow correctly. We have Repulsor Brace in the second column. We have Dragonfly and Orchard's Tempo in the first column. The second column, we have Explosive Head. We have Sword Logic, we have Demoralize, and Destabilizing Rounds. I know that Sword Logic and even Adagio seem very tempting, but I think, again, this is, why would you use this over other bows? And the combination of Void is very big. You could play it safe and go Repulsor Brace, Destabilizing Rounds. You could do that. It would be all right. But I feel like Repulsor Brace is not necessary when you're using a bow, in my opinion, because you're already able to sit in the back and shoot from safety. I would recommend, and even Archer's Tempo, this is a light frame. Draw time is not necessary. It's already fast. My go-to here is Dragonfly. And normally I don't say that for like endgame, but Dragonfly really does go well with Destabilizing Rounds, but it also goes incredibly well with Demoralize, which is, in this episode, is new perk for Void, which weakens targets. It causes a weaken explosion. So if you're causing Dragonfly to proc and it does an explosion, you're having that plus a weaken, which does increase the damage that is dealt to the weakened targets. So you see what's going on. You do Dragonfly, you cause an explosion, which also explodes and causes targets around it to be weakened. It works out really well. And all you have to do is get a kill or get like a headshot. Or Destabilizing Rounds. With Dragonfly and Destabilizing Rounds, you're getting double the explosions. The next is our sidearm, Division. It is a heavy burst arc, which is notable because we don't have a lot of heavy burst, but it's a 325 RPM heavy burst sidearm with arc, which I'll say right now, I've used this in Grandmasters. I wasn't as impressed. Yes, sidearms do a lot of damage, but so do sidearm rockets, if I'm going to be very honest. Ah, yes, the Division. Our arc sidearm. It's a heavy burst. Listen, sidearms are an acquired taste. I'm just going to tell you right, it's an acquired taste. Some people love sidearms, some don't. Sidearms do really good damage, like they're top of the board. I personally feel like if I'm going to use the sidearm, I'd just rather use a hand cannon. But if I gun to the head, we've got some options. You've definitely got some options here. Now, in the first column, we have Discord. I think it's really stupid. And here's my true on it. It is really stupid to ever use a primary of Discord because you have infinite ammo anyways. You may not have to reload, but who cares? Grave Robber, same thing. I'm not into it. Pugilist, if you want to use a melee build, is great. Honestly, the go-to perk that I would use is either Pugilist for that melee energy or Eddy Current, which builds into the Arc Fantasy. Now, in the second column, we actually have some options. We have Surrounded. We have Swashbuckler, Sword Logic, Kill Clip, Volt Shot. There's a lot of damage perks. I think we all know exactly what's probably the best in the slots, which is going to be Eddy Current and Kill Clip. I don't know, maybe you can get away with using some PvP. You could grow, I don't know, hit fire, Radiant Dance Machines with Offhand Strike for the memes or Eye of the Storm. I don't know. If you're Surrounded, you probably don't want to be using a sidearm. So I wouldn't use Surrounded. So Swashbuckler does pair really nice with Pugilist. Punch something, get grenade energy, get Swashbuckler ×5. It's between Sword Logic and Volt Shot, but overall, Volt Shot's just too free. It's too free. So I would definitely do Eddy Current and Volt Shot. The next weapon we have is our heavy linear fusion rifle, Eyes Unveiled, and I wish we didn't unveil this weapon at all. It is our Arc Precision Frame, 533 charge time. At least it's Void. Oh, Eyes of Unveiled, your perks are so disappointing to me. It has fill prep, it has triple tap, it has overflow and ambitious assassin. Overflow is pretty nice. Subsistence, I'm not using this for ad clear. Triple tap is the safe. Field prep is great for ammo conservation, which linear fusion rifles already have good ammo economy, so it's not like you really need field prep. I think triple tap just to keep doing DPS is probably the best overall, but I can see you trying to do like an overflow runneth over combo, but It's not as easy to set up as simply using triple tap to shoot something. In the second column, we have Withering Gaze, which I feel is a waste of a perk on a heavy weapon. We have Discord, Adagio, Frenzy, and Reservoir Burst. I'm going to say it right now. Reservoir Burst is probably the best damage perk, but it's also probably the most disappointing because you have to reload after every shot, which, you guessed it, not worth it. And I know Overflow and Ambition Assassin might let Reservoir Burst last longer, but that's more setup. Whereas I'm not going to recommend you get this weapon, by the way. You just don't. It's not. There's better linear fusion rifles out there. This one just looks good. It sounds good, but it doesn't. It's not good. It is garbage. This is probably one of the worst weapons in the Heresy line that I would not waste your time farming for. Yes, it has Discord, but again, why are you using a heavy linear fusion rifle to do ad clear? And it's also in the second slot. Like, if you wanted to make the argument of having Discord and Reservoir Burst, that would have made more sense. But Discord and Reservoir Burst are in the same slot. Like, you can go triple tap Frenzy, or if you really want to go to ad clear, you can use Subsistence Chain Reaction. But I'm sorry, you shouldn't be using this for ad clear. A lot of hype was coming out for this gun. We have our new adaptive 600 RPM submachine gun. That's right, Mirror Imago. It is a strand SMG, and yeah, it looks really cool. Unfortunately, SMGs just aren't it right now. The prodigal child, the adaptive frame submachine gun. It's a 900. I think if I said it was a 600, I meant it's a 900 adaptive frame, which is a switch up. This has overflow. It has subsistence, and that's pretty much all that's really worth going for in the first column. Overflow is really good in SMGs. You just want to blow your load. There you go. You pugilist, again, for PvP, I've seen some people try to make it work. I'm sorry, I just can't. We have better options in PvP. And I'm not even like a PvP master, but I can tell you in trials and in comp, it's not rarely even used. Now in the second perk slot, this is where things get more disappointing. The second perk slot is very disappointing on Mirror Imago, and it sucks because it's a really cool looking SMG. I really want to use it. It has sword logic, swashbuckler, target lock. Hatchling just sucks. It just sucks. It is a horrible perk. It should spawn 3 hatchlings and it should do significant damage, or it should cause unraveling on hit. Like, it needs love. Target lock is fine in PvP. PvE, it just feels bad. Like, if I'm gonna waste time shooting a target, I would rather have something that applies jolt or causes destabilizing rounds or something. Like, target lock is not bad, but it's not great. Swashbuckler, I hate having to try to get ×5 for it to be efficient. Sword logic is the same way, but sword logic is easier to kind of get going to a certain extent. You're never really going to get ×4 unless you get lucky to snag a mini boss. Osmosis, I just feel like they're better weapons. Like, why would you want to use an SMG with Osmosis? It's so disappointing because this SMG wants to be good, but it's not good. And I've tried to get an overflow runneth over to get like 100 in the mag with sword logic, or you can even try to make target lock work, and it's just it feels like I'm shooting Nerf darts, and that's the problem with SMGs. They just don't feel good overall in game. They just don't. But this one definitely doesn't feel good. Next up, we have our second aerial denial frame grenade launcher, Psychopomp, which I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely believe that aerial denial frames are overhyped. They're overhyped, except for the orb printer, which I thought was going to get printed from Vesper's host. And now we have what's called the bolt charge printer. That's right. This gun is probably one of my favorite versions of the aerial denial frame because it actually builds into your kit incredibly well for ARC. We got the Womp Womp, probably one of the better special weapons in the selection that we have. Psychopomp, really pumping it. Let's be honest, we have Ambitious Assassin, we have 80 current, and we have Envious Arsenal. Those are the ones that people are really eyeing. Yes, if you want to go into melee, Pugilist does the Lord's work. You also go Pugilist in the first column. In the second column, we have Demolitionist, Unrelenting, Rolling Storm, Full Court, Frenzy, Elemental Honing, and Harmony. I think they tested it, and Full Court does barely jack squat. Don't waste your time. Frenzy, increasing damage is always the play. Elemental Honing, I feel like this weapon screams use me for arc. If you're going to use anything for any other build, I would use the Vesper's Host aerial denial frame and just rock the orb printing machine. So I wouldn't really care about elemental honing personally. Plus, you get less of a damage boost because it's an elemental weapon. The focus should be either Unrelenting, Demolitionist, or Rolling Storm, in my opinion. And Unrelenting's fine. I'm putting my lot into Rolling Storm, though. I think Rolling Storm is a very overhyped perk. It is not good outside of this weapon, because when this weapon's enhanced, you get several kills in an area, you get bolt charge like almost instantly. This is one of the probably the only weapon I will ever recommend Rolling Storm and Abyssal Assassin, because you get 2 shots, and then if you get runneth over, you can even get more. Or you can play it safe and use Eddy Current and Rolling Storm. If you're building to Arc, Eddy Current is fantastic with Rolling Storm, but Abyssal Assassin is not bad. And if you're doing damage rotations, Envious Arsenal is not a bad shout, but I feel like if you're doing damage rotations, you're probably going to use a better weapon to do more DPS than this aerial denial frame. Next, we have our Refusal of the Call, which is ironic because a lot of people are refusing to use glaive still, and that's what this is. It's a glaive, and I'm going to tell you right now, the only thing going for it is the fact that it's strand. But when you compare it to the also easy to get Rake Angle, which has chill clip, it pales in comparison in utility, and when it comes to damage, most people would rather just use a rocket sidearm. But hey, it's an adaptive frame, it's a 55 RPM, it's strand. If you're a glaive lover, you have a strand version of a glaive. So there's that. But is this something that you need to go out and chase? Well, let's look at the perks. Then, all right, Refusal of the Call. Listen, it has some good options. It has some weird options. The first column, we have auto loading holster. If you just want to shoot your load and never have to reload, there you go. It does get Discord. And I want to make a note that this weapon you think would be amazing with Discord, but it has some glaring issues. One, it's slow as crap to get shots off. And two, it really suffers for the fact that it's probably the weaker of all the special weapons for DPS. And I say this as I've ran through an expert mode nether and I'm shooting yellow bars and it doesn't kill, and I feel like it feels like it's a waste of a perk when I could just use like a sidearm rocket with a better ammo economy and never have to worry about it. And I'm going to be 100. I would rather use replenishing Aegis, because the whole point of the glaive is to be some form of utility with a shield. Like if you're going to go straight DPS or for like big boy damage, there are other weapons that do it better than what a glaive does. Replenishing Aegis will always be my go-to slot. It will always go, because being able to do damage and block and then just have ammo every time you take damage, you just get free ammo without having to reload. Like it lets you build into the purpose of the glaive, which is defensive utility. Now, if you wanted to build into also utility, there's Slice. You could do that. Sure, it's a strand weapon. I get it. I feel like everything else is especially Discord. It's such a bait. It really is. I tried making Discord work, especially with other damaging perks. It's bait. In the second column, we have Disruption Break, which is interesting because it's Disruption Break. Like it doesn't proc off the melee hits. If I remember correctly, it doesn't proc off the melee hits. Now, I can tell you right now, Sword Logic doesn't. Not only does Sword Logic not proc off of melee hits, it doesn't extend it. So and it makes no sense. You have a perk called Sword Logic, and if you're using the blade part of the glaive, it doesn't activate it, and it doesn't extend it. It is such a weird choice for Bungie not to make it happen. Then, of course, you have Close to Melee, Unstoppable Force. These are probably your prototypical glaive. And then we have a new one called Melee Momentum. I'm just going to give you the tagline of what this does. Essentially, when you get a kill, or I believe it's a kill, you move faster. And yes, you can pair that with tilting windmills. And it also increases your movement speed. And with both these active, when you're blocking with your shield, you are like it's almost like you're almost running with the shield up, which I'm going to tell you doesn't really matter. You're not going to find very many places where that actually is useful. I think the safest, if you're wanting to use this because it's a strand for surges and it's in the kinetic slot, use Replenishing Aegis and Unstoppable Force, or Close to Melee if you want to get aggressive with the melee. But personally, I do not recommend Disruption Break. I don't recommend Sword Logic. I don't recommend Melee Momentum. It's so pointless. Last but not least, we have my favorite weapon and probably one of the best LMGs in the game. I would argue that Corrective Measures is probably now the number one. This is the number two, or even compete. If you want to say this was number one for meta, abso-freaking-lutely. We have one of our growing list of aggressive frame 600 RPM light machine guns. That's right. We have Watchful Eye, which is arc. And let me tell you, I have used this weapon intensely. Not only does it sound sexy, not only does it look sexy, but my God, just everything about it drips sexy. Like Oryx would be slapping our ass and saying, "You're slaying, bro. You're slaying." Watchful Eye, one of my most favorite LMGs, and I think one of the best LMGs in the game, second to Corrective Measures, which is a Vault of Glass. So for the fact that this is a seasonal episode weapon, which is much easier to farm, I have to recommend out of everything, out of all the heretical weapons, this is the meta. This is the best arc LMG in the game. In the first column, it doesn't have a lot of good options, but the two that it does are phenomenal. It has Eddy Current and Overflow. And I know a lot of people don't like Eddy Current, but you are sleeping on the reload capability of Eddy Current, especially if you're building to arc. It's just free. Or you go Overflow, which does pair very nicely with Runneth Over. Just get a massive mag and you're set. It's set, no problem at all. And the second column was where it shines. It has Sword Logic, Target Lock, Surrounded, Elemental Honing, Killing Tally, and Rolling Storm, Jolting Feedback. Please don't use Rolling Storm. It's a heavy weapon. Don't waste your time trying to use Rolling Storm. In fact, especially with Jolting Feedback, which is the perk I'm going to recommend for you to use. Either use Eddy Current Overflow with Jolting Feedback, or if you don't want to worry about procking, even though Eddy Current gets procced by Jolting Feedback, if you don't want to mess with it, go Overflow Jolting Feedback. But since we can have the option up to 3 perks if you get a shiny, I would go Eddy Current Overflow with Jolting Feedback, Killing Tally, and Target Lock. Especially the fact that you can get a massive mag. Killing Tally actually really shines. And Target Lock does too, because you just hold down the trigger on a big target with a big old mag. You're just going to get times max Target Lock pretty easily. But overall, I think the ability to deal with overloads with Jolting Feedback and kill trash ads and do chip damage to bosses and yellow bars, all that jazz, Jolting Feedback is not something you want to sleep on. And can I just say how sexy Watchful Eye sounds and looks? It is such a gorgeous looking weapon. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, comes the conclusion to our Heresy weapon review. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who may disagree, and that's fine. I'm basing it off years of experience, many day ones, many contest runs, many flawless runs, whatever you name it. And yes, I know I didn't mention a lot of PvP, but let's be honest. Most of these weapons are not PvP meta. It may be the SMG, but let's be honest, SMGs themselves are not meta. People are trying to make them be useful, and you can absolutely use them in Crucible, but overall, most of these weapons are not PvP meta. And that's why I specifically didn't talk about it, because honestly, and I'm saying honestly a lot, but I'm gonna be honest, if you want good PvP weapons, just grind the Crucible weapons that Shaxx has. That, or look at some previous seasons when it comes to their weapons. But this one specifically, the seasonal weapons, you're not going to see a lot of people running around competitively with these weapons. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me know which one is your favorite, what you recommend down below. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for more. And until next time, look out for my brutally honest review on this entire season. Again, I wanted to do the weapon review and go more in detail on its own and not take up so much airspace of the actual review of the episode itself. So that's on its way. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, don't forget to game out. Huzzah!